I'm Hannah Moore, CFP, a practicing financial planner and educator. I'm on a mission to change the way people think and talk about money. Let's get started. Today, I want to talk to you about the 3 biggest financial mistakes that I see entrepreneurs make. Now, I am an entrepreneur, so this is in my blood. And as I am telling you guys things, this is often from my own experience. Working with entrepreneurs is so much fun because entrepreneurs see what's possible. They create things, right? So one of my favorite things is one of the biggest differences when I work with an entrepreneur versus somebody who's working at kind of their traditional job is I'll say, okay, well, here'd be the ideal amount that you'd be saving to support your lifestyle or whatever that may be. And they'll be like, oh, I don't have that money now. But then they figure out how to earn it or they figure out how to make it. It's just one of the coolest things to see. But I want to talk about the 3 biggest financial mistakes that I see entrepreneurs make. So the first mistake is that they don't save for themselves, right? And I have certainly lived this for years of my life as well, where you are so convicted in your business that you're building as you need to be when you're an entrepreneur. So that's not a judgment statement whatsoever. But you are so convicted in what you're building that you take all of your money and put it into the business. And there certainly can be times and places for this. And like I said, I've done that myself, where I've put off saving for retirement to put that money into the business. But it's really, really important that you prioritize saving for yourself, saving for your family outside of your business. So one of the risks that we have, right? So one of my jobs as a financial planner is to really assess risks. So I look at a client situation, and one of the first things that I'm looking at is, okay, what are all the ways that this can go bad? What are all the different ways? What are all the risks that we must protect? We must protect these clients from before we start looking at what's possible, right? It's just kind of what we do as financial planners. This is a huge piece of what we do, and one of the biggest things is not preparing yourself for retirement. And not preparing yourself for what's ahead for you. And now certainly not everybody has these issues, but I was talking to one client recently. She's an entrepreneur, and she made the comment, "I am building a great life for all my clients or all of my employees. They're getting paid well. They're all these things." She's like, "But I'm not saving for myself. I'm not making sure that I'm going to be able to retire from my business someday." And I think this is a very common entrepreneur struggle because what we see is we see the opportunity, right? We see the opportunity within our business. And it's often there, right? Because we know that, we know what the market returns. We kind of have a good sense of that. And we know that we can beat that in our businesses. And we're often right? Like that's what's hard about this is that we can often be right. But the question becomes, what if we're wrong? And so what pulling money out of your business and investing it, saving it in some retirement accounts. Number 1, you're going to help your tax bill significantly. But number 2, you're going to be diversifying your risk. Right? You're going to be diversifying this risk to say, like, we're not putting everything on the business. We're not putting everything in one spot because there's a lot of business risk. We assume when we think about risk, we assume if it's a risk we control, it's a lower level of risk. But that's actually not the case when we look at it. So I assume, and as I'm sure as I know many entrepreneurs do, that it is less risky to put money into their business because they control their business. They get to make those day-to-day decisions on their business. And that's certainly, yes, it's true that you do control those decisions, but that does not mean that you have a decreased risk. It's actually one of the big fallacies that people have around risk is that if I control it, it is therefore less risk. And that's just not the case. We're putting all of our eggs in one basket, if you will. And so by pulling money out and putting it into retirement accounts, by saving it for your family, for your retirement, you're able to diversify that entrepreneur risk, which is huge. Another thing I see common with entrepreneurs is this assumption that they're going to sell their business. And perhaps they do, right? And that's great if you do. But what you don't want to have happen is realize that you don't have a business to sell someday and then not have this retirement kind of built up behind you. It can be a very very big deal. One of the things that works so well for for non-entrepreneurs, people who work in, I guess, normal jobs, is this idea of the 401k, or where you're like systematically investing every month. Teachers are one of the biggest groups of millionaires in our country because they start young and they just continue to do it over and over and over again. They're very, very good at that structure. And so one of the things that I found that has been helpful for me is we ran a financial plan for ourselves, and we came up with a number that we need to save every year. So therefore every month we know that number. And I just pay it from the business account directly into our investment account. And so that transfer happens, and certainly, we're accounting for it the correct way. But it's a way for me to kind of basically get the benefits of that 401k, where it's not a significant hit to our personal finances. And then we just built the business around the assumption that it needs to be providing for that for our family. So just a kind of a tip on that. So going back to the whole topic, 3 mistakes entrepreneurs make. 1, they're not saving for themselves, taking care of everybody else. They're growing their business, but they're not making sure that they are financially secure, or not even knowing what would be enough for them to be financially secure. Number 2, they don't know their end game. So this is going to get maybe a little bit less in the personal finance and more in the business side of it. But what is the end game of the business, right? And there is no wrong answer for this. I think this is an incredibly important piece. Is this a job, or is this a business that you could sell someday? And again, neither one is wrong, but it is going to change how you approach your business, right? Is your business an alternative to going and getting a corporate job? And if that is, again, no issues with that whatsoever. But if that is, then you really need to make sure that you are on top of what your retirement plan looks like without the sale of your business. Now, if you're viewing this as, no, I want this to be much bigger. I want to be able to sell this someday. You're going to have to think about your business differently. You're going to have to run your business differently. You're going to have a whole different framework around what you're doing on your business. Now, there's a lot of really great business coaches out there that focus on that, but that's going to be an important piece of understanding what is your end game. And it's okay if you don't know. Right? We're still in a phase with, kind of what we're doing in our business is where we're in an in-between, we're at an inflection point. We're figuring it out right now. And that will certainly continue to look different for people at different stages as they go through this. But that's just an important piece for business owners, for entrepreneurs to be thinking about, of what's your end game? Is it to sell the software? Right? Is it to sell the software and to take that cash payment? Well, then you need to understand kind of what are the implications on your personal finance on those aspects of it. Because again, there's just a lot of different factors that go into all of this of, how is your business providing you income versus like future income as well. Okay, so the third mistake that I see entrepreneurs make is that they don't do the financial basics. Okay, so what are those financial basics? So these are the boring things we don't like to talk about, but are so incredibly important, especially for entrepreneurs. So number 1, estate planning. Got to get your estate planning done. You have to have a plan for what happens after you die. So we're all going to hope that doesn't happen. My hope is that everyone listening to this is not your story, but we have to plan for it. And it's especially important for when we have a business. I worked with a couple where they had a business, and he didn't actually die, but it was completely incapacitated for a long time. And so the wife, who's never run the business, who's never really been part of the business, was now having to call customers, was now having to step in to help with this business and make decisions on this business. That's significant, right? So think about, if you were to die, what happens to your business? Does your business just shut down? If it does, that's great. Not great, but like, I say that because I don't want you to die. So don't die. But if your business lives on after you, you need to make sure that you have your estate plan documents in place, that you have buy-sell agreement in place. You have a plan for what that could look like, because it's so incredibly important for the continuity, for the value of your business. So if your business lives on after you, who owns that business, and does your family get some of those funds? So it's going to be a huge question that the entrepreneurs have to ask, and I think it's incredibly important. It's incredibly important to the service of your clients, but even more important for your family, to really make that clear. When we start talking about estate planning, the thing we say over and over again is we don't want surprises. I mean, good surprises are great, right? But we don't want things to be like, oh, we didn't expect that, or oh, we had never thought of that. We want to be able to think through those pieces. Okay, so it's estate planning. The other that is tied so directly to it is this insurance. So this is going to be life insurance, disability insurance. Y'all, it's disability insurance is one of the most overlooked insurances that we have when clients come in, especially entrepreneurs. Is looking at, what are the pieces that you need to protect yourself in case something bad does happen. And oftentimes they can be like, well, I can't imagine a scenario where I wouldn't be able to continue working in my business. I mean, so my business is a great example. I'm not physically doing anything. Like if I broke both of my legs, I could still work, like all of those things. But there's so many other disabilities that happen, that could be cognitive, that could be, sickness is one of the biggest ones. I mean, even just with what we've seen in COVID, we've seen some people have just extended disability with that. But those disability pieces are going to be really important. And then life insurance as well, of making sure that your family is protected in case something happens to you. This is so incredibly important for every stage of life, but I think it's incredibly important for entrepreneurs because we just kind of view our life and our finances a little bit differently when it comes to our finances, and making sure that we have that level of protection and getting it when you're still healthy is incredibly important. So if you guys don't get anything else from this at all, and you don't have life insurance, go get yourself some life insurance. It's probably going to be far more dollars than not like spending dollars, like the cost of the insurance, but the amount of insurance you need usually surprises people. But do that because it's so, so incredibly important. But you can also build, depending on your business structure, you can also build Keyman Life Insurance. You can build some of this into your business to have that sustain your business as well. So let me give you an example. If I had a 50-50 okay, so I'm working with some clients, so they're 50-50 partners. What happens if one of the partners passes away? Well, each of their significant others becomes a business partner unless they can buy them out. And as this business continues to grow, that buyout amount keeps getting to be larger and larger and larger to a point where that's significant for anybody who is going to need to, if you need to, if I'm working with somebody, I'm used to working with my business partner, and now it's their spouse who may not want to be there at all. I'm going to want to buy them out. They're going to want me to buy them out usually. And that's just going to be a really, really big dollar amount. But there's some life insurance pieces that can be put into buy-sell agreements and things like that can really help ease that transition. So anyway, just wanted to give you guys some 3 of the biggest mistakes that I see entrepreneurs. So as a financial planner, that I see entrepreneurs making as they go through their life. So 1, not saving for themselves, not saving for the family. 2, not knowing what their end game is. Are they planning on selling? Are they planning on, is this just like a lifestyle practice? And then 3, really getting those financial basics in place, making sure all of your insurances are just buttoned up, your life insurance, your disability insurance, certainly all of your liability, so your car insurance, your umbrella insurance, all those, your homeowners, all of those things need to be aligned as well. And then estate planning is a huge deal as well, both for your family and for the sustainability of your business. So I hope this is helpful for you guys. If you're an entrepreneur, definitely be thinking about these things, thinking about how you can just start, even if it's a little bit. Just start small. I know often as entrepreneurs, we just want to go all in really fast, or at least I do. But know that you can start small and just start with a little bit every month for saving for yourself, or go and get that life insurance quote because, again, it can make all the difference for your family. Thanks for listening to this episode of Everyday Money with Hannah Moore. If you like what you heard, subscribe and check out livewealthynow.com. We have a lot more resources to help you live wealthy now.